Listen, I need you to hear me today. Sometimes the very thing you're holding on to is the thing that's holding you back. You're gripping it so tight, scared to let go, afraid of what comes next. But I'm here to tell you, God has something better for you. You just have to trust him enough to release what's meant for you. So today I want to give you 8 key truths that will help you let go and make room for the greater blessings that are coming your way. 0.1, holding on can block your blessings. Imagine walking around with your hands full of heavy bags. You're struggling, exhausted, and can barely move forward. Then someone tries to give you a gift, something valuable that you truly need, but you can't take it because your hands are already occupied. That's what happens when you refuse to let go of things that no longer serve you. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a dead-end job, or a past failure. Many people stay stuck because they believe that what they have is the best they'll ever get. They settle because they fear the unknown. But what if the very thing you're clinging to is the reason you're not receiving the breakthrough you've been praying for? Holding on to something out of fear, attachment, or comfort can prevent you from stepping into a new season of blessings. There are countless stories of people who were forced to let go of something, only to find out later that it was the best thing that could have happened to them. Take a person who gets laid off from a job they thought they retired from. At first they panic, they feel lost, questioning why it happened to them. But months later, they land an opportunity they never would have considered, one that pays better, aligns with their passion, and allows them to grow in ways they never imagined. That job loss wasn't a punishment, it was preparation for something greater. Holding on to relationships that no longer uplift you can also block your blessings. Think about a person who stays in a relationship out of fear of being alone. They ignore the red flags, the lack of peace, and the feeling deep inside that tells them this isn't right. They hold on because they're afraid of starting over. But what if letting go is the only way to make space for the right person? So many people miss out on true love because they are too afraid to release what isn't meant for them. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't value what you had. It simply means you trust that God has something better. When you keep your hands full of things that no longer serve you, you limit what you can receive. But when you release what's not meant for you, you open yourself up to new opportunities, new blessings, and a future greater than you ever imagined. Letting go hurts. There's no denying that. Saying goodbye to something familiar, even when you know it's not right for you, is painful. The discomfort of change can make you second guess whether you made the right decision. But pain is temporary. God's plan is eternal. Think about an athlete training for a big competition. They push their body to the limit, enduring muscle aches, exhaustion, and moments where they feel like giving up. But they know the pain is only temporary. On the other side of that struggle is victory. If they quit every time it hurt, they would never reach their full potential. The same applies to life. The pain of letting go is real, but it is nothing compared to the joy of stepping into what God has planned for you. Sometimes we hold on because we think the pain of leaving will be worse than the pain of staying. A person in a toxic relationship may feel the loneliness that comes with walking away. An employee in an unfulfilling job may feel anxious about stepping into the unknown. But what's worse, temporary discomfort or a lifetime of regret? Faith requires trusting that the pain of today will not last forever. The Bible is full of examples of people who endured temporary struggles for an eternal reward. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned. He could have given up, but he didn't. The pain was real, but so was God's plan. In the end, he became a ruler in Egypt, saving countless lives, including the very brothers who betrayed him. His story proves that what feels like suffering today can be the foundation for something greater tomorrow. The discomfort of letting go is often a sign that something better is on the way. A butterfly must struggle to break free from its cocoon. If it stays inside, it will never reach its full potential. The struggle is necessary for transformation. The same is true for us. Every time we let go of something, we are making room for something better. The pain we feel in the moment is small compared to the purpose God has for our lives. Pain is temporary, but what God has in store for you is far greater than anything you could imagine. Trust that what He is removing from your life is only making space for what's to come. When something is taken away from you, it's easy to see it as a loss. Losing a job, a relationship, or an opportunity can feel like the world is working against you. But what if it's not a loss? What if it's a divine exchange? God never removes something from your life without replacing it with something better. The problem is, many people don't wait to see the replacement. They get stuck mourning what they lost and never move forward to receive what God has prepared for them. Think about a child holding on to a small toy. The parent has a better toy to give, something far greater, but the child refuses to let go. They don't understand that by releasing what's in their hands, they'll receive something better. We do the same thing with God. We cling to what's familiar, afraid to release it when God is trying to give us something greater. A woman may be devastated after the end of a long-term relationship. She thought he was the one. She invested years of her life. She can't understand why things fell apart. But later she meets a man who truly values and respects her, someone who loves her in a way she never experienced before. Looking back, she realizes that the relationship she lost was not a loss at all. It was a necessary removal that made space for something greater. A man may lose his job and feel like his world is collapsing. He questions why God would allow him to struggle. But a year later, he lands a position that pays better, aligns with his passions, and gives him a sense of purpose. The old job had to go so that he could walk into something greater. God's process doesn't always make sense in the moment. Sometimes it looks like destruction when it's really preparation. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt for hundreds of years. When God finally freed them, He didn't take them straight to the promised land. He led them through the wilderness first. They struggled. They were uncomfortable. But in that process, He was shaping them for the blessings ahead. The removal of their old life wasn't to harm them, it was to position them for something far greater. When something is removed from your life, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is God making room for? Because He never takes without giving something better in return. Staying comfortable is easy. It feels safe, it feels familiar, but nothing great ever happens in your comfort zone. Growth requires movement. Progress requires change. A tree does not grow unless its roots push deeper into the ground. A butterfly cannot fly unless it struggles to break free from its cocoon. Strength is built through resistance. The same is true for your life. The areas where you feel stretched, challenged, and even uncomfortable are often the very places where God is growing you the most. Many people miss out on their destiny because they refuse to leave their comfort zones. They stay in jobs they hate, in relationships that don't fulfill them, in environments that no longer serve them, all because they're afraid of stepping into the unknown. But growth never happens without discomfort. Abraham had to leave everything behind. His home, his family, his security, to follow God's calling. He had no idea where he was going, only that God told him to move. That kind of faith is uncomfortable, but because he stepped out, he became the father of many nations. Had he stayed where he was comfortable, he would have never walked into his divine purpose. Think about a person who dreams of starting their own business. They have a vision, they have the skills, but they're afraid. The security of a paycheck keeps them from stepping out. They know they're meant for more, but the fear of failure holds them back. If they never take the leap, they'll never know what's possible. But those who take risk, who step out of their comfort zones, often find themselves living a life they never thought possible. Even in relationships, comfort can be a trap. People stay in relationships long past their expiration date because they're used to them. They know it's not right, but the thought of starting over is terrifying. But if you never leave what's wrong, how will you ever find what's right? Growth happens in the uncomfortable places. God often calls people into situations that stretch them because that's where transformation happens. If you're feeling uncomfortable, uncertain, or afraid of what's next, that might be a sign that you're on the verge of something incredible. You were not created to stay in the same place forever. God has bigger plans for you, but you have to be willing to leave the familiar behind. Comfort might feel good, but growth is where your blessings are. Fear is one of the biggest reasons people refuse to let go. It whispers doubts, creates hesitation, and convinces you that stepping into the unknown is too risky. The problem with fear is that it keeps people in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and situations that no longer serve them because the thought of change seems worse than the discomfort of staying the same. A person may feel called to start their own business, but is afraid of financial insecurity. They tell themselves, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? But what if they succeed? What if stepping out is the key to unlocking a level of fulfillment and success they never imagined? Fear tricks people into assuming the worst without ever giving themselves a chance to experience the best. Think about Peter in the Bible. He was in a boat with the other disciples when he saw Jesus walking on water. Something inside him said, step out. For a moment he did. He walked on water, but as soon as he focused on the waves instead of Jesus, fear took over and he started to sink. That's exactly what happens when you let fear control you. It makes you sink before you even get a chance to walk. Fear doesn't just stop people from taking new steps, it also makes them hold on to things that aren't good for them. Someone in a toxic relationship may know they need to walk away, but fear keeps them in place. What if I never find love again? What if I regret leaving? But what if walking away is the only way to make room for the love they truly deserve? The fear of starting over is another trap. People stay in places they've outgrown because the idea of rebuilding is overwhelming. A person may stay in the same career for years, even though it no longer excites them because the idea of learning a new skill or starting fresh seems impossible. But every success story involves someone who pushed past fear and took a leap of faith. Fear will always be there. It will always give you reasons to stay where you are. But faith says, move anyway. God didn't give you a spirit of fear. He gave you a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. If fear is keeping you from letting go, recognize that it is not from God. What He has for you is bigger than anything fear is trying to take away. Endings feel final. Losing a job, a relationship, or a dream can make it seem like your story is over. But an ending is never the end, it's just the start of something new. Think about a caterpillar. At one stage, it looks like its life is ending. It wraps itself in a cocoon, completely still, with no visible signs of life. From the outside, it looks like the end. But inside, transformation is happening. When the cocoon finally breaks, it doesn't come out as the same creature, it emerges as something entirely new. People experience this same transformation in life. A person who gets fired may feel like their career is over, but in reality, that job loss is what pushes them to start their own business. A person who goes through heartbreak may feel like they'll never love again, but in time, they meet someone who makes them realize why it never worked out with anyone else. The key is perspective. When something ends, it's easy to focus on what's lost instead of what's ahead. But every person who has ever achieved great things has had to go through seasons of loss. A person who wants to build a new home must first tear down the old one. A tree must shed its leaves before new growth can begin. A person who wants to move forward must be willing to let go of what's behind. History is filled with people who faced endings that led to new beginnings. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her job as a television news anchor. That could have been the end of her career, but instead, it led her to create her own show and build a media empire. Steve Jobs was pushed out of the company he founded, but that ending led him to create new ideas that ultimately brought him back to Apple stronger than before. The challenge with endings is that they often come with pain. The uncertainty of what's next can be overwhelming. But instead of fearing the unknown, what if you saw it as an opportunity? Instead of seeing an ending as a failure, what if you recognized it as a setup for something greater? If something in your life is ending, don't resist it. Don't waste time mourning what's lost to the point where you miss what's coming. God never removes without replacing, and every ending is simply the doorway to your next blessing. Many people believe their best days are behind them. They look at their past successes, relationships, or opportunities and think nothing greater can come. This mindset keeps them stuck, replaying memories instead of creating new ones. But no matter what you've experienced, good or bad, your future is still greater than your past. Think about people who reach success later in life. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, didn't start his business until he was in his 60s. Vera Wang didn't design his first dress until she was 40. Morgan Freeman didn't get his big acting break until he was nearly 50. If any of these people had assumed their best days were behind them, they would have never stepped into their purpose. A failed relationship, a lost job, or a missed opportunity doesn't mean your life is over. It just means something better is ahead. A person may go through a painful divorce and think love will never find them again. But years later, they meet someone who treats them in a way they never thought possible. A person may lose their dream job and think they've hit rock bottom, only to later discover a passion they never knew they had. What's ahead of you is always greater than what's behind. The problem is, many people get so attached to the past that they stop moving forward. They replay old memories, relive old mistakes, and keep themselves tied to what was instead of preparing for what could be. The best things in life come to those who are willing to believe that the future still holds greatness. The Bible is filled with examples of people who thought their time was up, only for God to reveal he was just getting started. Sarah believed she was too old to have a child, but God gave her Isaac. Moses thought his best years were gone after fleeing Egypt, but God called him to lead an entire nation. God doesn't operate on human timelines. If you're still here, that means there's still more for you to do, more for you to experience, and more for you to become. You haven't seen your greatest blessings yet. You haven't reached your highest potential yet. The best days of your life are still ahead of you, but you have to be willing to move forward. Don't waste time looking back. The best is yet to come. Waiting is one of the hardest things to do. When prayers seem unanswered and doors remain closed, doubt starts to creep in. But just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means the timing isn't right. A farmer plants a seed, but he doesn't expect a harvest the next day. He waters it, nurtures it, and waits. If he digs it up too soon, he'll ruin the process. Life works the same way. Some blessings take time to develop. Some opportunities require patience. If God gave you everything you wanted the moment you asked, you might not be ready to handle it. There are countless stories of people who had to wait before stepping into their purpose. Joseph had a dream of becoming a great leader, but he was sold into slavery and spent years in prison before he saw his dream come true. David was anointed king as a boy, but he had to go through battles, betrayals, and trials before he sat on the throne. Their delays weren't denials. Their waiting seasons were preparing them for the blessings ahead. A person looking for love may feel like they're running out of time. They watch others get married, have families, and move forward while they feel stuck in a cycle of waiting. But what if the delay is God's protection? What if he's keeping them from heartbreak, preparing them for the right person at the right time? Settling for less out of impatience can lead to regret. Trusting God's timing ensures that what is meant for you arrives when you're ready to receive it. The same applies to careers. Someone may feel stuck in a job they dislike, waiting for a breakthrough. They watch others advance, wondering why their own promotion hasn't come. But sometimes God delays things to build character, to teach patience, or to set things in place for an even greater opportunity. What looks like a delay is often divine preparation. Trusting God's timing means believing that he knows what's best even when life doesn't make sense. It means letting go of the need to control everything and having faith that what's meant for you will come at the perfect time. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, and every season of waiting is leading you closer to something far greater than you can imagine. The wait is never wasted when God is in control. So today I challenge you, let it go. Whatever is weighing you down, whatever is keeping you stuck, release it. Trust that God is making room for something bigger, better, and more beautiful than you can see right now. Don't let fear keep you from your blessings. Don't let comfort keep you from growing. Don't let your past define your future. Let it go, because God has something better for you.